Varmt välkomna ska ni vara till Studio 1921, ett nystartat program där vi kommer att fokusera på det som försiggår här på Ritorp. Och innan vi har en intervju här med damernas tränare Jared så ska vi snabbt gå igenom veckan som varit, tack vare Emma.
Tack för det, Oliver. Ja, det har spelats lite matcher, framförallt i söndags när både J18, J20 och dam hade match. J18 vann med 3-0 över Skellefteå. J20 förlorade 2-4 mot Skellefteå i söndags. Och under tisdagen spelade de mot Färjestad och förlorade med 4-1. Damerna spelade även i lördags och förlorade 4-1 mot SDE. Men vann i övertid mot Leksand 3-2. Kommande matcher då. J18 spelar söndag 15 borta mot Nacka klockan 2 på eftermiddagen. J20 spelar 2 matcher hemma idag torsdag 59 och på fredag imorgon 6/9. Och på torsdag möter vi Brynäs klockan 18 och på fredag Färjestad klockan 18. Och damerna spelar borta på fredag mot SD. Och damernas säsongspremiär är borta mot Djurgården på Hovet fredag den 13. Och herrarnas säsongspremiär är ju den 18, en onsdag, då vi möter Vita Hästen klockan 19.00 på Hovet. Och biljetter till det släpper vi på onsdag den 11 september. Så håll utkik i våra kanaler för mer information.
Tack för det, Emma. So Jared, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks.
And how's the team?
Good so far. We've been training hard and we're taking the correct steps to continue to be prepared for the series start.
What kind of steps are you talking about?
Well, we have changed a little bit of our practicing off ice and on the ice. And
In which way?
We started to practice some in the morning to give the girls a little bit more recovery at night, and we've implemented a little bit different playing style. We've added some new coaches, so a little bit new ideas, implementing the new players into the team, which is an important thing in terms of team building. So I think those things are the steps that we are trying to take to continue to improve, obviously, on a disappointing season last year.
And how has the preseason been so far?
Results-wise, we can say not so good, but I think in terms of what we're trying to do, it's kind of irrelevant in that sense. I mean, we want to get in the winning mentality, but in the big picture, I think it's more of how we see each player fit into what we're trying to do. And this year we have more players, so which roles is everyone going to fit? And then there's a battle for playing time as we have a full roster.
Can you see a difference between this year and your first year here?
Oh, absolutely. It's we at the end of last year in the individual meetings, there was a big talk that we had with everyone about how we wanted to approach things, and we took input from each girl, what they thought, and then the returning girls. When we started in the summer training, you can definitely see a difference in the mentality, and that's been very positive.
We have played 4 games during the preseason. Can you briefly take us through them?
The first game we played against Djurgården, we had practiced on the ice for 4 times, so it's a bit difficult to pinpoint exactly where we are in terms of playing style or things like that, because obviously we hadn't worked on everything. We lost that game in overtime. It was positive how our girls reacted to playing so early in August, so I think that was a positive. And then the next day we went and played against Brynäs. It was not a very good start. We finished the game well. So that was, if we take anything from that game, it was how we finished. This past weekend we played SDE, who is much improved this year, but I don't think we came up to the level we wanted to in terms of where we were trying to build to in that part of the preseason. But the next day against Leksand, we started to see the signs of how we wanted to play and our skating ability and that kind of stuff, and we ended up winning in overtime. So that's a positive thing in terms of we found a way to win, and we were taking the steps that we would hope to see in the progress.
What kind of improvements have you been seeing along the way?
I think each girl, in terms of their focus and practice, has improved. And then in terms of our gameplay, each time we are going over something new, how does that translate into the game? Are we adapting to it? Are the girls having that freedom to adjust to situations? Because as in games, it's not always exactly how you work on it in practice. And I think that's a big thing that we as a team need to be better at, is adapting to various situations, and it's slowly happening.
How do you work on that?
I think what we've tried to do now is we give the girls the basic information, and then in practice we allow them to sort out situations themselves and communicate within their lines of how they want to solve this situation or that kind of stuff, instead of giving too much information and then maybe they're thinking too much and it becomes a little bit robotic.
This is your second year as head coach. What can we expect both from the team and from you?
Well, I think for me, it's last year coming in, it was a new situation for me. So taking over, I didn't want to change too much, right or wrong. After the season, obviously reflect and different things. And there's some things I could have done differently in terms of maybe putting more of a stamp on how I want to play. And in terms of the team, what we expect is we're going to be a better team. We recruited girls that fit in the needs of what wasn't as good for us last year. Girls that have good character, that fit into the group. And then the girls that are returning, they understand last year what went wrong and how we can improve. So I think we're going to be a better team. We understand where we're at today and what we need to do to get to where we want to be. So that's the main thing, is that everyone has that realistic idea of what our goals are, but what's the necessary steps throughout the season to get to where we want to be.
We're talking a lot about the players and what they have to improve. What do Coach Jared need to improve? Well,
I think for me, to always continue to improve my communication to the girls, and I think that's something all coaches, especially in how hockey is today with the generation that we coach, communication is the number one single factor. And myself, I always try to learn different things, listen to different podcasts or read different articles on different coaches and the things that they take that makes them better, that maybe works for me. Or I'm never satisfied in my leadership. There's always things I want to improve. So that's a tough question. What we'll see is, to be honest, that's a tough question.
Let's talk about your signings. Can you briefly describe them?
Well, we signed Sabina Eriksson from Hove. Sabina is a goalie that has a lot of routine. She didn't play last year. She's coming off an injury, which we knew about coming into the season. And then we wanted to find some girls that were good at box play and that could play a good two-way game. And then we got in contact with Ida Nicola, and she has been fantastic so far for us. And I expect that it's going to continue that way. We got her from Leksand. She's born '98, but has played in SDHL for quite some time. Then we were fortunate enough to, a little bit near the end of the summer training, a former player in SDHL, Matilda Holmberg, contacted me and said she was thinking of making a comeback. She played a little bit last year with our Dameton team, and we agreed. There was no obligations or anything. She wanted to give it a try, and I think she will be a good surprise for our team. She's a very smart player, and it's a little bit more just to get her timing back. And then I got in contact about another goalie, Miri Räsänen. Obviously, we already had two goalies signed. And Amanda, who's young and got a good chance last year, then including Sabina coming in new. It was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. She's a world-class goalie, and it was a good fit for us. With Sabina coming back from injury, and we're not quite sure when she will be game ready. So I think that is something that I think it sends a good signal to the girls that we can sign top players. And Miri has been really good for us. She got goaltender of the tournament in the first national team tournament in Finland, and you can see in practice and in the games the class she has. So I think that's been positive. And then we signed the Japanese defenseman I've been in contact with all summer. She comes from the Canadian League that folded. Really good two-way defenseman. Fits in well with the team, great attitude. Practices hard, so she fits in well with our defensive group. And then obviously a little bit before that we signed Fanny Rast to come back, which was a big signing for us. It helps our offense. We didn't score so many goals last year. She fits into the team. She's played here before. It's not like it's a new situation for her. I had the opportunity to coach her with the national team, so I knew her from before, and has some of her best friends on our team, so it was a good fit to have her.
Sounds like you've been busy during the summer.
Yeah, I mean, it was a disappointing season last year. I think our expectations were to do better than we did, and a lot didn't start to happen until after Christmas. And then after the season, I identified some of the spots we wanted to get better at. Goal scoring was one, and we got that with Fanny. Good on box play, we got that with Ida and Sina Suzuki. So, and then obviously then there's situations that sometimes even if you're already full on a roster spot, a certain player comes along that it's only going to help your team, and that happened with Miri. So I think anytime we can improve the team to give us a better chance to be better, but also it allows the girls that have been here for a long time, it's an extra boost for them. So I think it's
About the goalie situation, last week I think it was a tough day for you when you had all the three goalkeepers unavailable.
Yes, Miri was still at home in Finland. A part of when we signed her late in the summer, that after the camp she was able to go home and get some stuff settled before she came back to Stockholm. And then Sabina wasn't game ready, and Amanda ended up getting hurt. But luckily Miri was able to fly back to Stockholm the morning of our game against SDE, and she played the two games on the weekend. And then we had one of our Dameton goalies back up on Sunday, and on Saturday we were thankful for Almtuna to loan us one of their goalies as a backup. So it all worked out in the end.
Nu ska vi ta lite kort paus härifrån och lyssna på vad Velma Nilsson har att säga.
Vi har spelat 2 matcher i helgen. Hur tycker du att det har känts? Börja med lördagens match.
Där tycker jag inte alls att vi riktigt kommer upp i nivå. Det känns som att det är lite stressigt och sådär, och SD är mycket bättre än oss den matchen tycker jag, så de vinner väl förtjänt.
Vad tycker du var största skillnaden jämfört eller på lördagens match med söndagens match?
Igår när vi vann då tycker jag att vi jobbar mycket hårdare och arbetar som lag. Jag tycker det var mycket mer individuellt och inte alls lika hårt jobb i lördags.
Det var Leksand ni mötte igår. De har bytt ut väldigt många spelare. Hur tycker du att deras lag var?
Men det var lite överraskande, så här. Man visste inte riktigt vad man skulle få möta. Men jag tycker de jobbar sig in i matchen och blir tuffare och tuffare ju längre matchen går.
De gjorde ett väldigt sent mål där, 19:54. Och sen gjorde vi ett väldigt tidigt förlängningsmål. Hur kändes det att få första vinsten?
Det kändes såklart bra. Det var lite onödigt och att vi inte kunde hålla en 2-1-ledning. Det kommer bli väldigt viktigt med alla poäng som går när serien väl startar.
Så då är vi tillbaka då. Jared, just listened to an interview with Velma Nilsson. What can you say about her?
Velma, if I would say one player who improved the most from the beginning of last year to we can say today is Velma. She works extremely hard. She has the willingness to improve her game. Through hockey gym has been really good for her, working with Taro and all the leaders in hockey gym, and then practicing a lot with the SHL team last year, and she got in some games. So that I think is good for her confidence, but she's willing to do a lot of the things that aren't asked of her. She doesn't need someone to tell her you should do this. She takes her own initiative And she has a good base on how her playing style is. She has a good shot, which she has worked on throughout last year, and she's a very smart player on the ice. So for a girl her age, she has a very bright future. She has the right attitude. It doesn't matter if she plays on a first line or fourth line, she's a team player, so we're very lucky to have Velma in AIK.
Let's talk about the problem that we have been having the last couple of seasons, because we have only managed to advance to quarterfinals, but no further. How come?
I think in the past, you can say 4 or 5 seasons, the league really had 2, 3, 4 powerhouse teams. So if you finish in the below 6, it's always a tough quarterfinals. If we speak from last season, we had a tough start. We lost a lot of points at the beginning of the season and couldn't recover in time to catch 7th place, for example. And then you end up playing a team like Luleå, who's very strong. So I think getting a good start in the season, really getting some points at the beginning of the season, if it's just getting 1 point or winning in overtime, or obviously the 3 points, but I think that's been a bit of an issue. So it's important that we work our way up in the standings this year.
What do we need to do in order to take the next step? Because I assume that's the goal.
Yeah, for sure. I think we need to be prepared to play every game. Last year we won 6 games at home out of 18, and that's unacceptable. You should win a lot of games at home. We were a better road team last year, but if we don't lose those points at home, I think it changes a lot. And then you obviously want to have home ice advantage in the playoffs, so that's finishing in the top 4. But we have to be prepared every game. This season the league is so much better. There's no, you can say, weak teams. SD has improved, Göteborg has improved, every team has. So it's the mentality that every game is important, every point is important. Then you don't lose ground in falling too far behind.
You're talking about the importance of being there from the start, and having, we're kicking off the season against Djurgården. Yes. How important is that game?
It's very important. It's not only is it a derby, but I think if you start the season winning the derby, you get the 3 points. That builds confidence into the rest of the games. We can't just have this mentality that it's the derby, now we have to get focused for it. It has to be all the time, and as the first game it really sets a tone for your mentality for the rest of the season. But winning is always a good feeling, and to start the season with a win is for us mentally will be a very big thing.
We've talked about a lot of players in the squad. Would you like to highlight some of them before the season?
I think Denise Husik-Asp has been phenomenal for us in the preseason. She's maybe not the most skilled player, but she gives you an honest effort all the time. She practices hard. She was our best player on the weekend, so I think she deserves to be highlighted in terms of the energy she brings to the team. I think Louise Nordberg Tangelin has been very good for us in the games. It seems like she has a little bit more joy in hockey this year, which is fun to see. So those 2 players, they've been in OIK for a while, but it looks like they're re-energized with this new season.
You want to tell the supporters the goal with the season is?
Our goal is to get better every day, and obviously every team in our league wants to win SM Gold. We're realistic that we need to take some steps to get there, but we have the potential to be a team to compete all the way to the finals.
Thanks, Jared. But before you go, we have a few questions from the supporters. Emma, kör på.
So Jared, we have a couple of questions from Instagram. First one is, what motivates you to coach a women's team instead of men's?
Good question. I think I find coaching women's exciting. They ask a lot more questions. It really makes, as a younger coach, or you can say, you really have to be ready to answer and give them the correct answers that they're looking for, and I think it makes me be a better coach. I also think that it's exciting to coach women because their drive to be good and to be better every day, and in terms of their situation, in terms of working and going to school and still playing at an elite level and practicing every day is motivating for me as a coach to help them achieve their goals.
And second one, not as difficult, let's say. How long have you lived here, and what's the best thing about Sweden?
I've lived here for around 10 years now, and the best thing about Sweden, I think the best thing about Sweden is it's very much like the country I come from in Canada, so it's easy culturally, and food-wise is very similar. I think obviously there's some different Swedish food, caviar and different things like that I'm not used to. But I think cultural-wise makes it really nice, and the weather in the summer, for the most part, when it's not raining, is very nice. And I like winter, so it's can get cold here. So I really enjoy living in Sweden, and will continue to.
Do you think you'll stay here even after you finish coaching, or will you move back to Canada?
No, I will continue to live in Sweden.
And last question, we talked about this a little bit, but someone asked, playoffs is obviously the goal, but what is required to get amongst the top 6 to avoid facing the bigger economies as early as the quarterfinals, as in the bigger teams as you were talking about?
I think we have to continue to change our mindset and practice harder, find the intensity so it translates better into games. I think for us, if we look at last year, our box play has to be better. We let in too many box play goals, which takes away a lot of momentum in games. And then I think it's just to continue to work hard. Our league's going to be tough. We're not hiding from the fact that every game's going to be tough. But I think the girls this year are much more prepared for what is in front of us and what is necessary for us to be successful. And I think if we continue to work on the things that we need to, then we will avoid playing, we can say, the bigger economic teams.
Wonderful, thank you so much for that, och tack till alla frågor.